I'm going to tell you from a woman's perspective. First of all, every woman has faked an orgasm. Every woman has faked an orgasm.
I'm sure it's happened to me.
But I'll tell you why.
I found it ironic. Art is supposed to be about diversity in so many different ways, except differences of thought. For example, me being black and being a fucking musician and having voted for Trump, voted for Republican for the first time ever, and that's suddenly an issue. People are so shocked by it.
For better or for worse, I'm kind of trying to understand what's going on politically right now. Can you explain to me what DOGE is? DOGE? Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata podcast. This is your host, Andrea Pranzatelli. This is episode number 142 on the Pranzata podcast on YouTube. We have a returning guest today. This is the third return of my good friend Shannen, also known as Death by Snuu as his musician name. He is an amazing musician. One of these days we got to get him to actually do like a music introduction on the podcast. But trust me, he's really fucking good, and he's become a regular on this podcast. Before we get into it, if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It is my mission to be a full-time podcaster, and every single subscriber helps me get closer to reaching the goal of that mission. Also, I know some of you guys are watching every episode and you're not subscribed. What the fuck? That is fucked up.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
So hook it up. Help me reach my goals, and we will be growing the Pranzata podcast better and better each time. Okay, so one of my favorite things about you is that I have like ADD brain. I can't wait to like touch different topics with you. First topic, What the fuck is a snoo? Because I have no idea.
Futurama, classic episode.
Okay, now I feel like an idiot. I feel like an uncultured idiot.
Did you watch Futurama? Have you watched Futurama?
No.
Okay, so like, and I know for sure some of fans listening, your fans listening definitely know the episode. I think it's called Snoo or something.
Is it like a hot girl?
But no, Snoo. So it's a verb. It's like fuck, like the fuck. It's like sex.
But okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, so the show is like their international, or not internet, their interspatial, whatever. They have spaceships and they deliver mail and packages and shit. And they go to this planet with Amazonian women and shit. And then the Amazonian women...
Bring the mic a little closer to your face if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. The Amazonian women start... they take all the guys, they get in prison. The women are fine because it's all Amazonian women on this planet.
Okay.
And then they're sentenced to death by snoo, which means you get fucked until you die. So there's like a skeleton in the corner.
Okay.
With its thumbs up.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes out. And I actually used to talk about my name when I would perform, actually, and that became a problem. People were like... Yeah, we think that episode's problematic.
So what is it about you in particular that resonates with Death by Snoo? Is there something about your character or your personality that would resonate with such a name?
Weird relationship with sex, being raised religious. So like, I was like, let me do this. Because when I gave myself the name before I moved as I moved to Philly, I just didn't want to take it too seriously. I was like, just make new music.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I need a new name and a new identity. So I was like, I'll just start under that name and just start making new music. I did that.
How do you feel about the name now? Does the name still sit with you?
Feels stupid. But it's fucking dumb. It's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm like, I don't know. I care about the music first. And I'm like, is it too late to change it? Because people like it, which is the hard part.
Yeah.
And I actually routinely ask friends if I'm like, for the friends I trust, for their advice. I'm like, should I change this? Because it's like if I was a artist and I was looking for an opener and I saw some nigga named fucking Death by Snoo, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like,
I think it depends. Like, honestly, I think it depends how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, for example, I like my stage name Pranzata. The way it came about, people are like, what does that mean? Is that like your full last name, or how did you come up with this name? Literally, this is how I got the name Pranzata. My college, I went to Kane University. And your college automatically generates an email address for you. And it takes the first, Pranzat, the first 7 letters of your last name, if you have that many, up to 7. So up to 7 letters of your last name plus your first initial. So my full last name is Pranzatelli, but it gave me Pranzat, and then it put A for my first initial, Andrea. And I was like, oh, that's a cool name. And I made it my Instagram, and everyone's like, that's sick. I'm like, literally my college like accidentally made it for me. So it's
just automatically out of there.
Yeah, and people think it's
a dope name though.
Yeah, people think it's my name. They're like, that's so cool. That's beautiful. I'm like, it's not even like it is my name because my name's Pranzatelli. A lot of people don't know that's my actual last name, but just came together like that naturally, and I just go with it. But I got sidetracked. I was gonna say, like, when it comes to taking advice for that type of stuff, just do you. Like, if you don't like the name anymore, I would change it. Like, if you hate the name.
Don't hate it, but I think I'm outgrowing it because I'm like, now after recording enough. Yeah. Especially after I released the CP, I'm like, I should probably put something clean, which I had some others beforehand. Yeah. On deck. One that I not almost, but was going under briefly was just called Fivefield. I was like, choose something clean. So people got mad at the name? Not mad. It's just that since the episode, okay, to be frank and to say it in plain English, the episode was about dudes being raped by giant women. And since rape's not generally great here at we take a stance against that here, obviously, but they didn't like it. It was like women especially were mad, like at some of the when I would joke about it. All right, we got to talk about, okay, now you got the wheels turning in my head. I had this one friend who, she was a female friend, and I told her that if my parents are listening, please stop listening. You do not want to hear your daughter say this. I told my female friend that it would be so hot if I woke my boyfriend up by giving him a blowjob. And she told me that was sexual abuse because I didn't get his consent. Okay. What do you think about that? Like, as a man, do you feel like a woman? Do you need a woman's do you need to give consent to a woman to suck your dick? I mean, I guess it depends who the woman is. Like, if it's like your daughter, like. But there's so many terrible things I have to think. But no. I'm actually just kidding about that one. Yeah, if it's like my dad, he might need my consent. But no, I mean, like, okay, we're definitely taking a little bit too far with the consent thing. Well, actually, okay, I would say this, like, depending on who you actually no. If she's in bed with you and you woke up and she's sucking your, like, if she was in bed with you, like, I don't want to hear shit. I don't know if I'd be able to take a guy seriously. What about vice versa? As a man, would you feel comfortable waking your woman up with a little oral sex if you didn't get her consent? As a man, is it a little different? Well, I have, and she didn't call the cops, so that's like, I guess it's kind of, I don't know. You know what I mean? If you already slept together, especially the night before. Also, if someone's sleeping in your bed, like, I can't imagine having a good case for how that's not consent. Have you ever heard of? Jesus Christ! Hold on, I do want to straighten it. Just like, have you ever ran into a guy who's like, oh God, my girlfriend gave me head again. Like, have you met that ever? But you might actually meet a guy. You might actually meet a guy who's like, you might want to move a little closer because you're out of the shot a little bit. You might actually meet a guy who's like, my girlfriend has a high sex drive and I can't keep up with it. So in a situation like that, when a man feels like, I'm too tired to have sex and she keeps wanting it, like, I'm tired, I can't get it up anymore, I'm older, and I feel like I'm being like that. I don't know if that's rape, but I've been that guy before, actually, where I was like, okay, I'm worn out here, like. But you did it just to be nice. Yeah, which I think, I mean, you should do. Like, sometimes you don't want to bang. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I've definitely clearly didn't want to have sex, but also it's just like, whatever. It's like, I'll just sit and you go ahead and have fun. I've been like, I'm just going to lay on my back. You can go to town. I was like, I'm tired. But I've definitely done that before. Yeah. Too. Like, I don't know. It's kind of nice too. Cause I'm like, I can take the night off and be a is it pillow king, pillow prince? Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know what that means, actually. Oh, well, pillow princess is the chicks who just like, they just want to stay on their back all the time. What do you think of that? Or whatever. I don't know. Honestly, I fuck. I'm not going to complain much. You know what I mean? So I'm like, is it dope if it's a chick who's like, hey, let's do all of the things? Yes, that's awesome. But also had sex. I feel like I'm too specific. Like, I feel like I'm tough to like get the right energy for, because I feel like if a guy underperforms, I'm going to talk shit and be like, what the fuck was that? But if a guy overperforms, I'm also going to talk shit. Because there's this, I don't know if like in your youth. Hold on, okay, overperforms is like, you want to do such a good job that you're like,
you're going too fast. Like you're like not taking, like you're not like there definitely is a fine balance between like this guy's just being a pillow prince and just laying there and expecting the girl to do all the work versus a guy who's like, I want to make sure this is an unforgettable experience, and he's just like going too fast.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? He's like crazy tongue and like too aggressive, like jackhammer. Like I feel like there's a fine balance where it's like you can be passionate with a woman without like too much like dog energy. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does. And I feel like it's funny. One thing I've found is if people are communicating, you'll find the right rhythm or whatever else. Because like for some, well, especially as I started getting older and having like sex with more women, and you find out it's like, oh wait,
they're all different.
Yeah, clits are fussy. Sometimes some clits are like yeah, it's like, I don't know if I can beat it up like Mike Tyson or some shit, and then others are like
yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I was like, instead of complaining, I was like, now I'm very forward. Like, what do you want? And if they don't give that to me, then I just play the game of, what is it called? Hot, cold, warm.
To see like what gets a better reaction. Yeah.
And I was like, literally, I just say, look at me so I know.
As a man, all right, I have a lot of questions. First question. If you found out a girl you were seeing faked an orgasm, would that insult you?
I faked one, so
I was gonna ask you if you ever faked one. Okay, so
I'm
let's
kidding.
break this down. Why did you fake? You've never faked one?
No, actually. Well, I mean, I could actually. You know what? Well, you know that bypass ejaculation thing. No, like where you're basically coming, but you're not ejaculating. So if that counts, then
okay. I think I've done that. Well, I don't know if girls could do that because I don't think girls really have like much ejaculation.
Yeah,
but I think
splooge coming out.
What's that? Splooge. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you from a woman's perspective. First of all, every woman has faked an orgasm. Every woman has faked an orgasm.
I'm sure it's happened to me, but I don't.
But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I do it. I can't speak for all women. Whenever I'm like seeing a new guy, women are more particular than men, I feel, and I know I'm not going to be able to have an orgasm unless I get more comfortable with him. So if he's doing something that I know will make me come in the future, I'm like, I need to like train him. like okay, whatever he's doing there is good. So I'm going to fake the orgasm now because I know that when I'm more comfortable with you, that's the move that's going to make me come. So it's like kind of, it's not like completely fake because I'm like giving positive feedback. I'm like,
that's
okay, that's the thing that's gonna make me come. So I need to like pretend to come now so that you'll do that again next time.
The part of me that has ego, like if that happened to me, I'm almost judgmental with you over that, but also
every woman does it.
But though. I'm like I could not like for sure. I know for sure. There's women who've probably been like, I'm so close, and just lied to me. And honestly, I got my ego in that fashion out of it a while ago because I was like, what? Like, no, I don't care. I've had sex with women where I was like, I wish this would end too. So I'm not really, you know what I mean? But what you're doing, I think, it makes sense.
It's a strategy.
Yeah.
It's a strategy. I feel like any guy who's listening to this that I've been with is going to be pissed off.
Oh no.
No, I mean, I told my ex-boyfriend knew about it. And he laughed about it. He was like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he wasn't mad or upset at all. He was like, he thought it was hilarious, but it's a strategic thing for me. I'm like, I need to get him to do that again because when I open up more and I'm more comfortable, that's going to be the move he has to make.
Without me prying, let me ask if so you're not opposed to just communicating that thing directly. It's just that you find that more useful or effective as a strategy, or is it like you're like, I don't want to tell them? It's like, it's gonna sound horrible because it sounds like I'm like training an animal, but it's like, I mean, you are.
I am.
We're dudes.
I'm kind of like if you had a pet and you wanted them to do a trick, you would give them a treat. So it's like the treat is the reward. Like it's the reward saying you did a good job, and that's the motivation. So like now the next time he comes back, so it's a manipulation tactic, but it's one that's going to benefit both of us in the long run. This
is going to get clipped. I love it so much. It's a manipulation.
But like, okay, I don't feel bad about it because I know every woman in like the world, like at least 98% of women, well, 95, let's say 95. Yeah. 95% of women have faked an orgasm. Sounds reasonable. So common. And it's because women care, like women are so like, we care about what people think and we care about feelings. So it sounds so manipulative, but it's about to like, let me make sure the guy feels good. Yeah. But then if the guy finds out, he's probably going to feel way worse. I actually did confess to my not my first boyfriend, but like my second. I was pretty young. I was like 19. He was like my second boyfriend. I did confess to him that our first time I faked it and he cried.
No, wait, how old?
He was like 19.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Yeah,
and I was
that's
like,
the age to cry.
I was like, no.
I mean, get it out then.
Yeah, and like, and I'm not trying to talk shit. It's just like, I realized that. I'm like, oh, wow. If you fake it, you can't tell them about it.
Poor dude.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's at that age, it makes sense. If it was happening and you're like 30 something, I'm like.
But I feel like probably guys want to cry. They just don't. They just know.
No, not me. You know, I've had too many faux pas in bed to even like. So I don't know if there's anything I could hear where I'd be upset or sad about it, because I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy who farted like while I came once.
Really?
Like, and after I couldn't get my dick up for like ever. And then
how do we feel about girls farting?
It was
like,
really fast.
What's your thing about that? Girls farting in a relationship?
It's fine. Like I was eating like Girl House some years ago, and she like farted while I was down there. I was like, it's fine.
Not in that case, because I feel like things can slip up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like hanging
casual.
out, like we're watching TV and she's just like, hey, what's up? Like, is that too masculine for you, or are you cool with that?
Oh, you know what? It's situational. It's like, because if I don't know. Yeah, it's situational. I feel like it just, not situational. It depends on the person. Like
really?
There's some, there's some, and I can't describe it. So I have literally no words on how to describe it.
Yeah.
It's just some people, I just know I would not be comfortable with them farting, you know?
Is it like,
and it's not,
is it a feminine masculine energy? If you're like, okay, I know this person's masculine, so if they fart, that makes sense. Versus this woman's very feminine. If she farts, it'll ruin my image of her. Like, how is is there a? Can we analyze it?
Actually, surprisingly,
the other way around.
It's This is if it's more feminine energy coming from the woman. I'm actually. I don't know. I would just shrug my shoulders if there's a fart coming from her, because it's like if it's a very masculine energy woman, it's like now on top of the masculine energy.
It's like you're adding too much.
Yeah, like I'd fucking date a guy if I wanted. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'll tell you about my fart history. I've never farted in front of guys. Like I was the feminine bit, and I think I have a fair amount of masculine energy. I think you and I have even talked about this. Like I have a balance of masculine and feminine energy, but as far as farts go, I was very feminine, that I will never fart in front of a guy. My last boyfriend wanted me to fart, and it wasn't a fetish. It was not a fetish. It was not a fetish thing. It was not a fetish thing. Okay. He thought it was funny. He's like, I think farts are so funny, and like I'll feel so comfortable around you if you just like let it out. And for the longest time, I wouldn't. I was like, I don't. He'd be like, fart, just and like we joked about it because like one time I said I had to fart, and he goes, always fart if you have to fart, like the way he said it. And I'm like, I'm gonna put that as a quote on your tombstone.
Can I say,
always
that's
fart.
actually sweet in its own weird way. Does that make sense?
No, it is. So where I'm getting at with this is that I was totally against it, and then one time I got really comfortable with him, and we had beans, like we had Mexican food, and I was like, I gotta be honest, like I think I'm gonna fart, and he was like, please just fart. And then after I did, it was like, and he just started laughing. I was like, this is so much better, like when you can just fart in front of someone and they think it's funny, versus like I have to hide the fart, you know what I mean?
Having to take a shit when I know I'm gonna fuck that night is the worst feeling.
Oh,
so
God.
Yes to that, like, because it's like I might be able to hold in a shit, but if I have, well, you can't hold in you can't really got it. It's like the worst, because then I'm like just anxious, and then it affects like my performance. It's the fucking worst. So yes to that, where you're like, oh cool, I can
just
relax now.
I don't mind a shit from a guy, but like if we're gonna have sex after it, you got to take a shower.
I can get down
clean
with that.
your ass.
Yeah,
my ass. I need dinner to be served off my asshole like every day. Like when I take a shit, I have to shower immediately, and if I don't, I'm not having sex. Like I literally wipe my ass till it bleeds. Like
I was I was told once, yeah, like after well, actually I think it was during receiving head, and she let me know. I was like, I did not smell great. And after that moment, like I was like, oh no, I was like, whatever I have to do if there's not a bidet, and I can't shower, like it's like,
I don't like
we
bidets.
Can't fuck.
I don't like bidet.
Why?
Because
is it the sensation of water going in your butthole?
It's just splashing dirty water back. It's because people are like, no, it comes from the hose, but it's like, yeah, but like I just feel like
back down onto
it's gonna.
thing.
I mean, I have a big ass, so I feel like it's just gonna like my ass probably like dips closer to the water source. So like if that happens, it's just gonna ricochet. Is ricochet the right word?
Yeah,
it's gonna ricochet off and bounce back up and just like spray dirty water in my ass.
I mean, well, it's like actually, you know what? But that's why you gotta clean your. If you've ever seen, I've seen some of those. What do they call it? Tushies. Sorry, yeah. Tushy. You know, are you trying to get sponsored by Tushy? Because I'm gonna talk shit.
We could.
All right. Hey, look. All right. Well, actually, no, it's not Tushy's fault that motherfuckers don't clean their bidet, but like I've seen some and I'm like, and it looks like someone literally like sat on it and it went in their butt because it's brown around the little spout that sprays the water into your butt. Ew. And I'm like, and I was looking at it, I was like, why? What's the point of the bidet? Like that's like having shit on the toilet paper before you wipe your butt.
See, I think bidets are disgusting. I wouldn't mind using it as like a secondary, like a helper, but there's still got to be like another layer of cleanliness. Oh no,
if they're clean, like. Well, there are some that are like the self-cleaning kind. There are some really nice ones.
Yeah.
There's no going back. Because, I mean, the feeling of being like, oh, cool, I can just use this bidet and it's clean. And then you can go and fucking, you don't have to take a shower.
Yeah.
Game changer.
The fucking shit for me, not like the literal shit, but like the best for me is a shower head that comes off and you could power wash your ass. That is the best. I live for that. I want to get an attachment to my shower because my shower doesn't want one. I mean, doesn't have one. But when I used to have one in my house and it was the best. It's way better than a bidet. You just take a shit, hop in the shower, put the water on really hot, take that and just power wash your ass.
That is actually
nothing is as good as that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Actually, that is amazing too, especially if you're, well, it's like any dude that knows having a hairy ass is awful. It's awful.
I'm going to refill my coffee really quick, and then I'm going to come back, and I have some political questions for you. Do you want me to refill?
Oh, fuck, yes. Oh, post-election.
Hold on, guys. We'll be right back. Listeners, I went to go refill my coffee, and as I was refilling my coffee and making another pot of coffee, I was telling him how, like, damn, when I do these like episodes where I open up a lot about like sex and shit and whatever, I know that so much of my family and like my clients listen to these episodes. And carry on with what you were just saying to me about like your brother's stuff.
Yeah. No, so my brother has his own bartending business. Of course, he'd been bartending for years before that. What he realized though, he was actually fired. Really nice place.
But of all the places,
it was a fancy restaurant.
Huh? It was a yeah. But I was gonna say, of all the places, why would a bar of all the places care about what he says?
That's the thing. It's like because he's on his social media saying whatever he wants, and like, and it's like it's not like he's like death to women and made a Nazis rule or some bullshit. I don't know. Yeah. He's just expressing his opinion and like, okay, maybe it comes off a certain way, but whatever. It's like he's his own person, but
it's a political. He's giving political opinions, and that's what got him fired.
Especially that when it starts teetering into like, hey, you know, maybe it's not the word. Maybe it's not evil to say, you know, men aren't women. They're literally different. Sorry, it doesn't mean that people who want to, you know, a man who wants to be a woman or a woman who wants to be a man is bad. It's like, but where's the line with reality, right? So there's his argument, you know, which I also obviously agree with.
Yeah.
He gets fired for things like that eventually. So I still remember the conversation I had with him after he got fired, and most gangster shit. And he tells me about the moment when he's sitting down talking about it with the management and ownership. And he's like, yeah, in my head, he's like, oh, okay, I guess I got to get rich. And so he goes and he starts, just his clients and everyone he's met over the years after kicking ass bartending.
Yeah.
He's now got a business where he's making money from only the people he wants to make money from. Yeah. I admire him so much for it because it's like he went out on a limb. It's not easy. I helped him with one of his bartending gigs. I learned a lot. This was 2 weeks ago.
This is your twin brother?
Yeah. It's called Limbo Mixology, by the way.
Hell yeah. Limbo
he's
Mixology.
Extremely professional though, and I admire him for it. And he's willing, and this is the important part. There are cowards out there who will let other people dictate what they say, and they're held hostage morally by money. He's not doing that. I'm not doing that. No. Like I've almost gotten fired from places for that. Like I should have been fired when I was, frankly, confronting my boss about the bullshit lockdown restrictions with COVID, you know, and I just pulled him aside, not rudely, and you know, I was like, hey, dude, this is absurd. Can we talk about this and what's happening and what's the plan and path forward? But very important. So he started his own business, put his money where his mouth is. I'm looking to see what other avenues I can do, including helping him build his business so I don't have to answer to that, because no one wants to be held hostage like that.
No, I'm 100% on board with you about everything you just said about like your opinion with that and your brother. That's like everything. Like if there's any thing, what am I talking about? Cause. If there's any cause I'm passionate about, it's people's autonomy. Like I think people should be who they are. I mean, obviously within reason. Like you don't want to be out murdering people and be like, it's my autonomy. Like this is what I want to do. Like obviously we have laws we have to follow, etc. But as far as like being able to voice your opinion, being able to do the things you want to do, like going back to what we were just saying about being yourself and getting in trouble at jobs. I had a woman who was trying to help me grow my business once, and she was kind of giving me her advice, and she's like, I saw some of your Instagram pictures, and if I were you, I would definitely tone down your sexual presence because you're not going to get clients who trust you. And I'm like, I have a lot, like, fuck that. Like if, like, listen, I'm not a porn star. Like I understand if I was like a porn star or something, like I would obviously probably not get like little kids like coming to my house for piano lessons. I get that, but like I want to own like the way I like to dress and my style, and it's not true. It's bullshit. Cause like there's this one chick in Philadelphia who is super sexy, and she's this incredible vocalist and music theory teacher. Brilliant woman. I actually wanted to take voice lessons with her, but like I couldn't afford it. She was so good. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is like she has this like hot, sexy, like presence, and she just like owns her, like she's very confident in her own skin, and she is like, she makes so much money and she's loaded with clients. So I'm just like, the idea that I have to be like this like perfect, prim and proper person to do things right, that's like totally against everything. Like I think people should be themselves and do what they want to do and say what they want to say within reason, of course, of like following the law. But yeah.
God damn it! I just wish. Yeah. That also, wait. Hold on. How long ago was this?
For the vocal lessons, or
the going back to the
pretty
recent,
helping you with your business pretty recently. Yeah. I asked the lady, I was like, can you help me get verified on Google? I didn't ask her for a rundown of like my whole thing. She kind of took it upon herself to give me extra advice. But I was like, hey, I'm trying to get verified on Google for my business. I don't know how to do it, because she has like a hair salon. And she's like, hey, I'm going to tell you how to do it, but in addition, I want to give you my feedback. You need to keep all your photos on Instagram PG. And I'm like, no, I don't need to be like, I'm a piano teacher, therefore like all my shirts, I mean, my shirt is up to here, but like all my shirts are up to here, and like I can't show my tattoos. Like, no, either you vibe with me or you don't, and that's it. I'm not fucking around. You know what I mean? So, well,
also, I mean, your skill speaks for itself. Like I've seen you perform, and I also am now like aware of your knowledge of music. It's like, I don't know. This is my whole issue with all of this stuff. My brother, going back to him, it's like become undeniable at what you do. Yeah. And at a certain point, like no one can say shit. Well, they can actually, and you know what? They should. Good for you. You don't have to like anybody, you know what I mean? But you can't deny that this person's skilled, right? And when I see you do your thing, you're clearly competent. It's like, so it's like, cool. It's like, well, now the choice is on all your clients. It's like, they'll be sifted to the ones who say, I want to work with Andrea. I feel like I fuck your name up.
It is pronounced Andrea, but I'm not like one of those people that are like, because I always feel rude. I've known you
for like a year now, and I still do this
It's
shit.
okay. Like I always feel rude when I'm like, it's Andrea. Like it seems rude, but then some of my friends have been mad at me for not correcting them. They're like, I've been saying your name. I had one friend who used to call me Adrian, and I never told them it wasn't my name.
Okay, I feel better now. Wait, why wouldn't you? Oh my god!
And they knew me for like years, and like finally someone was like, hey, her name's not Adrian. They're like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, I didn't want to be rude. Like
I would feel so, but honestly, if I was with them, I'd be like, what the fuck? Anyway.
No, but like back to what you were saying. We'll go follow up with your thought. What I was gonna say was that same exact thing what you said about the skills with this lady. Like I'm trying to compare like what that feedback I got about how I should look a certain way if I want to get clients, and I'm like, my schedule's almost full right now. Like I only have about 3 spots left. And that one lady I was talking to, who's a vocal teacher, her voice is phenomenal. Her music theory knowledge is phenomenal. And she's very sexy. Like she shows cleavage. She's like a bigger girl. She's like a curvy, like BBW, like type of, black lady. And so hot, and she gets like, any child would be so lucky to take a lesson with her because they're gonna get such amazing technical skills. Like, she's not out here doing porn. Like, she's just a sexy woman who's fucking knowledgeable about her shit. And I'm like, that is no, like, of course you're gonna get some parents who are like, no, like I don't want that type of, but in my eyes I'm just like, dude, you would be a fool not to take a vocal lesson with her. She is so goddamn smart. Those kids will be singing riffs and runs, Mariah Carey shit. Like, those kids will get their shit together if they take lessons with her. So, I mean, anyway, circling back to what we said, like, I commend your brother for just being like, no, this is me. I'm not going to change who I am. Like, the people who are going to vibe with my business will vibe with my business, and the people who don't won't. And that's it, you know?
I feel like it's that way with so many things. Like, whether it's business or not, like, be you and do you the best you absolutely can. Like, be on the bleeding edge of your ability. Be on the bleeding edge of your ability. I do my music. And I love, like, that after having moved to Philly, you know, coming into my own with where my music's at now, and it feels like the vibe I wanted at. Yeah. Now it's just like, cool, got to book places and all this other stuff. But I ran into this thing when I got here. I remember on the first podcast where I was like, why is it like Portland, Oregon here? Yeah. And, you know, and just I found it ironic. It's like the art is supposed to be about diversity in so many different ways, you know, like in differences and all sorts of shit, except differences of thought, I guess, apparently. Like, you know, for example, me, like, being black and being a fucking musician and having voted for Trump, like, voted for Republican for the first time ever, and that's suddenly an issue. People are so shocked by it, and I'm like, and as an artist, having different views, especially as a musician, it's ironic, like, how many people are, like, shocked by that, as if you're supposed to think one way. I'm like, this is wild. That's the point of art, is to all of us have our differences. You do your thing. But I'm like, I'm going to do me. If I make my music good enough, I don't have to worry about what I say online or offline. And I think the cool part is if you're consistent with that too, it doesn't really fuck you over. Yeah. Because no one can say Shannon's I've been called many things, including an Uncle Tom.
So you have told me that you have a friend who calls you an Uncle Tom. Can you explain to me, like, I feel like a moron right now because I'm like, let's talk politics, and I don't even know what that means. I'm new in the political realm. Like, I've actually kind of backed away from political conversations the past few weeks because I've been, like, sidetracked with different things. But if someone calls you an Uncle Tom, can you explain to me and the listeners, like, what that means?
Oh, yeah. I think, actually, you know, and I'll say specifically what he was alluding to in the conversation. Mm-hmm. If you've ever watched Django Unchained,
I have, but it's been too long that I can't remember. It was a good movie. That's all I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I was having sex with somebody when I watched it.
So. That's actually a good choice.
so I actually don't remember what the movie.
Such a good choice. No. So during slavery, think you have the blacks working in the fields, and then you have the blacks in the house keeping up with things, and then you have the one black guy who's like, what's the word? He's a servant, but he's overlooking and overseeing the house. Basically, like,
definitely a good sex movie. Definitely good sex
movie. Right? Just like 12 Years a Slave. Yeah. Great sex movie. No, I need to stop. This is so terrible. But like, so like Samuel L. Jackson in the movie Django Unchained played the character who's overseeing the house for what's his name, Kenneth Candy, whoever Leonardo DiCaprio plays. Yeah. So Samuel L. Jackson's character is supposed to be this despicable black man who's betraying his own kind because he also is the one who would, like, he'll issue discipline, you know, if one of the slaves get out of line or whatever else. So house nigger is basically what an Uncle Tom is. It means you're just like, you're sucking up to the white guy who owns you. I get called this in a conversation. Essentially, he didn't say it straight up, and that's why I was more irritated about it. And he's not even a bad guy, but like so many liberals I'm run into, and that doesn't, and I want to stress, it doesn't mean all liberals or Democrats are bad, but it's just this thing that I keep running into. It's like they love black people precisely up until the moment you disagree with them. They love us right up into that shit. And then it's like, because when he finds out, like, we were at the bar and I'd been wanting to talk politics with him forever, and so when voting comes up, this is pre-election, he's surprised when I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be voting Republican this year. And he was like, oh, he's like, you're not sure yet? Or I was like, oh no, I'm 110% sure. Yeah. And I know precisely why I'm voting in this fashion. So we get into the discussion, and by the end of it, you can tell he's very perturbed. So he offers up this strange hypothetical scenario. He's like, say Well, say you at work, there's one of your coworkers is actively advocating for racism, or not racism, for slavery, to come back. He's like, how would you feel? I was like, I wouldn't care. I was like, my parents are from the South, Atlanta, Georgia. They grew up in the South. My dad was around. He was a teenager when cops were just killing black kids willy-nilly for sassing them, doing shit like that. Racism. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't think I'm like, who am I going to listen to more? A white guy about racism who's my age, or my parents who actually went through it? And it's ridiculous because he offered this up and I told him, I was like, I don't care. My dad's a capable man. Yeah. It's like incapable men, especially in black neighborhoods back then. It's like some of them lived in KKK neighborhoods with a KKK member. And what they lived by is you just don't cross this line. It's like, yes, there's racist people who don't like you out there. You cross this line, you touch my family. Okay. If you touch my child, if you touch my fucking dog, I delete you from this earth. That's what black people of old were like. And now we have this thing where we're supposed to look for help or be thankful for help from, I don't know, from all the white liberals for posting shit online or whatever else. I'm like, racism, I was like, my parents didn't talk to me and my brother at all, barely, about racism. Me and my brother actually had a conversation, just to wrap up this thought. We had a conversation some weeks ago, and there was an epiphany where we were like, hey, did our parents ever talk that much about it? And I was like, yeah. And we kind of sat on the phone for a second, like, no, I can't remember one thing. I mean, the principles they taught us were save your money, treat your woman right, work hard. I can't remember much else. And the person that I am as a result is much better because everyone else is telling me I should focus on racism, or people who might want me to be a slave again in my buddy's weird hypothetical scenario. What I told him was, and he didn't like it, I said, I don't care. I was like, if that person got in the way or crossed the line physically where I need to defend myself, cool. I harm them physically, but I doubt that'll happen. Also, I think it's their right. Because I truly believe in this country, I think it's their right to hate me for my skin color. I don't give a shit. It's like there are worse things than people out there who don't accept you for your skin color. And as soon as everyone stops being pussies because the world doesn't accept them, I think the world becomes a better place. You're more resilient. But I'm like, you're not going to get far in life if you're that scared of racism.
So many thoughts came up that I'm like, oh my God, I want to show you this. I want to talk about this. I do have reaction videos set up. There's a few different videos I want to show you that directly relate to a bunch of the stuff you just said. Sorry, guys, if you can hear that, my cat's automatic feeder just went off. They're like, amen. Like,
they were like, yo.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is a Tim Dillon clip. Don't look at what I'm going to type because it kind of ruins the surprise. But you'll see. So don't look. Look the other way.
We've been thinking a lot about the show and the direction that it's going in. And, I was out to dinner the other night and somebody said to me, you've never had a woman of color on the show. And this is true. And it's number one is because I don't have guests. Usually it's a show without guests. It's kind of me ranting. You guys are familiar. But I started to think about it, and I started to think about that I needed to kind of make some changes. And why not use this platform to elevate people that have been marginalized historically, and why not use the platform to bring on a woman of color to speak? I think that's very important. So I think now it's time to kind of throw a bone to progressives, listen to people, reach across the aisle, in terms of everybody should be listening to each other. So I was like, I absolutely, at dinner, I said, I 100% am going to bring a woman of color on the show. I think it's the right thing to do for somebody like me that has a platform. I truly believe that, and I'm not kidding. I know I'm a comedian, but I'm not kidding about that. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Candace Owens. Candace, thank you so much for being our first
that one.
Yo,
you're our first woman of color on the show, and I really am grateful that you came on. Thank you so much.
So he did that whole that's when I saw that for the first time, I was dying of laughter because he makes this whole point about women of color coming on the show and being more progressive on his show. And then when she comes on, she goes, not that one. So it illustrates the point you made earlier today where it's people of color, their voices matter, but only to a certain degree if it aligns with the ideology.
Yeah.
Right. And if I'm being honest, like, you know, you're my friend of color. What's it? How should
I know, right?
How should I address you? Should I say my black friend? Like, what should I say?
My Negro
No,
friend.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, for some reason that does not feel right to me. I'm not saying that. I'm going to say my black friend. So I have several black friends, and I would say every single one of them has voiced to me that pretty much what you said. They're like, yeah, I don't want your sympathy. Like, it's weird. Like, don't, like, it's more racist for you to treat me like something special. It's insulting. You know what I mean? Again, I might be biased because I am involved with stand-up comedy, and I feel like stand-up comedy over the years has leaned more to the right. So I might be biased that my black friends are stand-up comedians and whatnot. So maybe that's why I've gotten that general consensus. But I don't personally have a single black friend who liked Black Lives Matter, etc., that type of thing. So, you know, and again, I don't know if it's because I'm, you know, my friend circle's biased because they're comedians. But I would say not, because you're a musician, you're not a comedian. So I would say not biased, you know?
Yeah, still of comedy though. I mean, but artists nonetheless. And I mean, to that point, you know, you remember, I think it was like our first podcast.
Yeah.
And I had said bluntly, I was like, honestly, I prefer actual racists. You know, and this is why I said it. It's like, because they actually respect you. You know, like the racists that were around in my mom and dad's neighborhood, those people, okay, they actually respect you. That's why they want to fuck you up and keep you from winning, because they know you're capable. But when I have white people who are like, you need my help, we're privileged, so you need our help because you're black, your skin's brown, so you need us. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck is that? That's I'm trying to wrap my brain around it and make sense of it. And this is also why Malcolm X himself detested white liberals. He did not like them because they do that shit right there. You need us. Or, you know, it's like, what? Yo, we like you right up until you disagree with our policies. You know, right until you disagree with our views on racism, you know?
Yeah.
Like this cat at the bar, like going back to that, is he was upset. He was upset.
One of your friends, right? In your circle.
Yeah, and I still think he's a good guy, but it's like, this is why it's so important to talk to people who disagree with you. And I mean explicitly disagree with you. It's so important. Like the idea of resolution, like in the world, like you get a bigger picture the more people you talk to. There's actually the depth of knowledge that you'll find in people who disagree with you is overwhelming. And that's why it's important. You make more sense of what you actually believe when you talk to those people, you know, and it's also what got me out of my little liberal phase, you know, and it's not to say I've turned all the way to the right or whatever else. Honestly, everything has their issues. Anything that humans touch is going to be confusing and fucking flawed. So I don't care about that. It's why people like Candace Owens, you know, she gets so much fucking heat. Also, I love her because she doesn't care. Like, there's so many like her. Who is it? There's that Justice Clarence Thomas, the philosopher Thomas Sowell, whose books I love. There's so many people like who get so much criticism just because they're black and they don't align a certain way.
There's another reference video I want to show you. I think his name is Amir Odam. I'm pretty sure I've showed you him before.
Me to him.
But
yeah,
I want to show the audience because he's actually opened my mind up to a lot of different ideas as well. So I want the listeners to watch this as well. So give me a moment here to find this. Okay, boom. I got the perfect video from Amir Odam over here. We're going to watch this.
In this video, I'm going to go through 5 reasons why some black people don't identify with the black community, as well as go through footage of other black content creators giving their criticisms and critiques about the black community, because to be honest, their voices deserve to be heard too. Let it be known that not only is grouping all black people under one umbrella presumptuous, but also dismisses the black people who think for themselves. And if all these corporations and nonprofits and even our government wants to promote Juneteenth and black voices, then we need to listen to all black voices. So if you like this kind of content,
so I'm going to pause right there. We're probably not going to watch the whole video. We're going to kind of skim through a little bit, but I want to pause right there. And like, I immediately thought of his voice after what you said, because he illustrates exactly what you're talking about beautifully in his videos, and he definitely opened my mind to exactly what you're talking about. It's like, wait a second, if we're going to listen to quote unquote black voices, we need to listen to all black voices. So let's keep listening to this.
Be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos where I talk about race and culture as well. 1. Their melanin does not speak for their mindset. A black person not identifying with the black community does not mean they dislike being black. It just means they don't allow the color of their skin to determine their entire lifestyle. Besides, isn't it racist to judge someone by the color of their skin and not the content of their character? Isn't it racist to assume that just because someone is black, you think they automatically stand with BLM, they vote for Democrats, and have a grudge against white people and America as a whole? Just because someone is black does not mean they have to subscribe to an established established set of principles.
I'm going to pause there. Did any of that resonate with you, or like any ideas spark from that?
You remember, so I had messaged you about Muay Thai.
Yeah.
My Muay Thai buddies, after getting done a session, we all go out for coffee, and like not voting comes up, something about somebody's trip to Texas, and in the conversation, in short, he's like, I was just saying how much I love the place. I was like, yeah, I visited there recently. Austin's pretty awesome, you know, and the folks there are so fucking fun. He makes a comment though. He's like, I've been there. It's just, I don't know, the South, it just gets weird, you know. And then I start wondering which way they voted, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I've met too many cool people in this world, you know. And I get enough judgment, you know, just for, you know, being black and people assuming, you know, I vote a certain way. I was like, and this is the first year I voted Republican, and the look on his face, like, so shocked.
Now I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, because I think that's what, you know, makes it more interesting. I do think people have extreme reactions. Are the reactions as negative as the media would make it out to be? Because a lot of the times the media is like, it's crazy, the woke culture. These people had negative reactions, but has there been any reactions that is as negative as the media makes it out to be?
In person, no. Actually, okay. And in fact, you know, and I want to revisit it too. When I say the look on his face, it was shocking. He actually was like, wait, what? Because he needed me to actually repeat what I said. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't bad, right? Like I didn't get like jumped by my Muay Thai buddies. That was like, too, because every one of them could fuck me up one-on-one. So I'm thankful for that. Mind you too, for reference, like the gym I go to, some of the gym shirts that we have at the gym say anti-fascist and all sorts of other things.
So that's what I'm trying to get at, is because like when I look at things online, it seems really extreme, but when you actually talk to a person face to face, I can't speak from personal experience because maybe you've had issues. Well, no, I backtrack that. I've had personal experiences of people cutting me off because of political opinions that I've had, but it was never to my face in the flesh. It was always like online or through a text. Have you ever had, is that your experience as well? Like in person, it's not as extreme, but through text or online communities, it's more extreme.
Online always much more extreme. Me and my brother got recently called misogynist and transphobe, whatever the fucking cheesy ass word is, transphobic. But it's more extreme online. In person, because people aren't really no one's gonna throw hands. No one's really gonna be as vicious as they are online, and everyone knows that, especially the cowards. Yeah. But my buddy, he's not a coward, and he has every right to be shocked. It doesn't make him a bad person for being shocked that I voted this certain way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And also, he's awesome. Like, my gym buddies, one of them got it, and he was like, yeah, people, he's like, especially here in Philly, just get so fucking upset about it. Yeah. One of my buddies, you know, I could tell he's probably dealt with the same kind of thing, regardless of which way he's voted. He observes, just like me, people have this overreaction to it. And, you know, what I find is in person, everyone actually is pretty cool about it, right? Because they know me, they know my character, and in person, and if anything, what I see in their eyes is they're struggling because now they have to confront the fact that they think all these people are Nazis. And I've heard some of these conversations in the gym or at work or whatever else, where people are like, yeah, you know, it's like all these you know, Nazis now. It's like, how do you just vote that way? And I'm like, and people just casually saying this stuff, and then when they find out I voted that way, it's like, okay, so now you have to confront the idea that this person, you know, is very kind to you, is generous, isn't fake righteous or any of that other bullshit. I'm flawed, I own it, and I'm a good person. Not because I think I am, not because I say good things, because I do good things. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
I was going to say, maybe I really like that you're opening up and just kind of talking about this with more people, because I feel like that's going to thing that gets change to happen, because people will say anything online, but in person, it's really hard to dismiss somebody in the flesh. I mean, some people, they're so in the world of online that they want to have a confrontation and record it so they could blow up on their YouTube channel or whatever. But I'm talking about those genuine instances where you're out for a coffee with your friends and you just say, hey, I voted for Trump. You know, I'm a black man, I voted for Trump. It surprises people and they have those kinds of reactions. I think that's the type of stuff that's actually going to move things in the direction where we're less divided, where you're just open. Because I do think I think in the flesh, it's going to be hard. People talk a lot of shit, but I think in the flesh, it's going to be hard to treat somebody poorly. Yep. You know what I mean? Like I've even had, I'm not going to call this person out, but I even had a friend who when I voiced some things on my channel, and we're very good friends, I voiced some things on my channel, and he sent me a pretty angry text. But then we got in person and we talked about it. We actually, had a in-person like political debate about it. And I don't want to say he did apologize, but he kind of like realized, he's like, wait, we actually have more in common than I thought. I just sort of like jumped to conclusions about this because of stuff I heard on the media, etc. So I think we've talked about this before, but I think the power of the people to be together comes with us talking and communicating.
Yeah. It's literally the only way to save it.
Yeah.
I'll give an example that'll make sense of exactly what we're talking about here is pre-election. I remember I went to one of the Trump rallies here in Philly, and I was having a conversation with friends after it, remarking about it. They look at me like I have 9 heads. And I tell them, I'm like, what's funny is everything that they say on the media, on the goddamn internet and everything else doesn't line up with what I saw. Because when I go there and I see a bunch of Mexicans, black people, white people, when I went there, no one said anything about my fucking skin color. They didn't say, glad to have us on your side. We need, you're safe here. They didn't do any of that bullshit. You know what I get? Waves, laughter, how you doing? Motherfuckers drinking beer. It's a bunch of cool people at a Trump rally, and everyone just has they have the same values generally, minus a few things. Yes, both sides disagree on certain things, but no one's out here with a bloodlust because the other side believes a certain thing. It's like, the internet's fucking fake. It's fucking fake. And this is why I tell people, I'm like, so you're telling me that what I saw with my own eyes is a lie? Because there's thousands of people, right? And I know other Trump supporters as well. Like, that word's weird. I know people who voted for Trump. That's how I'm going to word that. Yeah. And it's nothing like people say, it's like, if it were, I'd be able to point to it, I'd be able to see it, and I don't. Yeah. And that doesn't mean there's not some assholes out there. There's assholes on each side, but generally, and I know this, it's anecdotal, but it's also like, it's my personal experience. Most people are good people, and it's why I talk to people who disagree with me, so I could see for myself, not listen to my friends who are terrified to have a conversation with their goddamn neighbor. It's like, no wonder you're all at each other's throat. It's because you didn't find out what your neighbor believes. Yeah. And you thought you could run a country. You thought you could share a country with people, and you didn't even talk to them. Like, are you out of your head? Yeah. I do want to shift the conversation, because I feel like you're more in touch with politics right now than I am. I was really into it during the election, and then I kind of I got really sick with like mold illness and all kinds of bullshit, and I kind of lost touch of reality. So I'm trying to jump back into for better or for worse, I'm kind of trying to understand what's going on politically right now. Can you explain to me what DOGE is? DOGE? Because I always thought it was a coin, and I'm trying to figure out, like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, they keep saying like the DOGE, and I'm just like Bitcoin? What are they talking about? Yeah. So can you please explain to me what DOGE is? What is the controversy about DOGE? Because I know that all I know so far is that the people who did vote for Trump are somehow in support of this DOGE thing for the most part, and the people on the left are like, they're fucking everything up. What is it? Like, what is DOGE? What does it stand for? What is it? Department of Government Efficiency.
Has that always been a thing, or is that a new thing? Because I've never heard it before.
It actually started, the program apparently started as and I want to make sure, and I've heard it over and over, and I want to check it to be clear, to see myself, but it was actually a program. So Elon and Elon's staff, who he's using to go look through the government and audit the government, essentially, they used and renamed a program that was instated during Obama's administration. Okay. Right. So it's not illegal, like so many people like keep saying, or other bullshit. It's like, no, they're operating and just basically rebranded this thing that already existed, this program. Okay. And so what they're doing is exactly what so many people voted for Trump for in the first place, which is to go through the government and see, it's like, where is all this money fucking going, and why, and how in the hell is it possible and even tolerated that the Pentagon fucks off billions of dollars, right, in their audits, and they're just like, oops, So from the limited knowledge I have about it, the left is framing it as in they're cutting government funding for people who need assistance, like they're cutting funds for things that are valuable, and the right is framing it as in what does Trump always say?
like cutting out the bullshit. What's his phrase he used?
Drain the swamp.
Drain the swamps,
in a
right?
way, 'cause
Drain the
he's
swamps.
talking about deep state stuff too, but that's a whole nother topic.
So, but from what I gather, that's the left's take and the right's take. The left is like, they're cutting valuable funds for education, et cetera. And the right is framing it like, no, they're not cutting valuable funds. They're getting rid of corruption, like funds that were going to corrupt sources, et cetera. So explain more like what you know about it so far.
And as much as I can see, because it's not just about like things that are happening just here, right? Some of that money, and you can look this up, by the way, and I want to look at the camera.
We can, if you have any reference videos, by the way, we could totally look it up.
You can go on the official website, and they actually list the data. This is public, and you can see where millions of dollars go in certain areas, like 25 million to Sesame Street in fucking Afghanistan to the show to have. I'm dead fucking serious. So it was in Afghanistan or Iraq to have that show, like fucking for transgender shit in some places in South America, millions of dollars. It's like the dumbest shit you can think of. You can actually see where the millions of dollars we send to the Taliban go. You can see where money is funneled in so many places that makes no sense and is in opposition to the interest of America, right? And I think but I feel like those are easy, right? That's like low hanging fruit. Money's going to things that obviously it shouldn't be going to. Right. One of the hard ones, and I think this is to address what you were just talking about, where the right frames it one way and the left frames it one way, is like these social services we have and the money that's being cut in some fashion in those. And I think that's a big, difficult question that both sides need to actually talk about instead of pointing at the other like it's evil. Because I think one thing we can agree on is it could certainly be ran more efficiently. You know what I mean? And honestly, of course, there's going to be some shit that happens that affects people, and it's going to be messy. You know, it's like we didn't get in this mess. Like,
now, are there any
overnight.
particular things that they're cutting that actually is, you can criticize it and be like, that's kind of fucked up?
Yeah, one thing I'm unsure about, and this is one I want to actually look into because I don't know enough about it, is the Social Security issues going on right now. Because it's like, how does like that in Medicaid or Medicare or whatever? Because if you look online, it's one of two things. It's like, no, the right's like, we're not doing anything wrong. No, everything's great. It's fine. And this is going to be good. And the left's like, oh God, they're cutting all this stuff and they're fucking with everyone's Medicaid, Medicare. I do not know enough. I don't. I just know that there's enough fuckery where it's like, something's gonna have to happen, you know. Like I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know where things stand now, but what I will comment on is that it is also confusing because I don't make a ton of money. Like I have a lot of music clients, but my job is difficult. Like I'm essentially like a contractor. Like I get private clients, etc. A couple years ago, I was getting paid. I was charging far less for my rates. So I did file to be approved for, I don't know if it's for the young people, Medicaid or Medicare. I fucked them up. Do you know which one's the old people?
I can't.
One is Medicaid, one is Medicare. One's for the young poor people. So I had that one. I was approved for whatever under Trump. Okay. I lost it under Biden. So that's what I mean. It's like, I'm really confused. Like, what's what? And same thing, my mother, who she suffers with handicap, like mental handicap. She's not retarded. She's she's mentally ill. She has Medicaid, Medicare, whatever it is, and she almost lost it under Biden, and then thankfully she was able to like reapply and get approved for it again. So I'm like, what's really going on here? Because they want to blame it all and Trump's going to take it away, but they've been giving it and taking it throughout the years under all the presidents. You know what I mean?
Do you wonder if it's like so many things that it's a political football or something? You know, for example, like racism or other things that are either hard or impossible to solve. Like, because I'm not saying we don't need some kind of comprehensive and reasonable system of healthcare in the country. What I am saying is I'm not satisfied with either side's efforts in regards to healthcare. You know what I mean? So for example, with this DOGE shit going on right now, I'm like, I don't know. I know other people benefit from Medicaid and Medicare, but there's also a big segment of the country that's also not really involved with that because their healthcare sucks because of the position they're in. Right. You know, and it's like, so having Medicaid and Medicare get audited in the way that it is right now, I'm like, I can't say right now whether that's good or bad. And also, I gotta check with friends actually who have Medicare and Medicaid personally and be like, hey, what's happening with that?
I don't think anybody's insurance is good right now. Because I know people, unless you're like very wealthy, if you're a very wealthy person and you can afford the best of the best care and that's not an issue for you, whether you have Medicaid, whether you have Medicare, or whether you have insurance through your company, I feel like everybody's getting charged a lot of money for, like, for example, I have health insurance. I don't have Medicaid or Medicare right now, but I do have health insurance. My doctor's visits are like $70. My medication is like $80. I mean, I got sick recently and I've spent thousands of dollars. Like, I'm in medical debt now. And I don't have Medicaid. I have normal health insurance. I think everybody's like, so going back to what you said, I think it's kind of just like a mess in general. I don't think anybody has it figured out, private or government insurance, you know?
I mean, like, fuck, it's way too complicated. Like, that's over my head right now. And to be honest, I'm almost more concerned about some other things that just I feel like would help as far as priorities, right? Like rank ordering priorities. And I'm like, the healthcare system is such a mess right now that I'm not looking for it to instantly be solved by Elon or whoever else. They're not God. They're not going to save us. Honestly, if everyone doesn't come together and agree on, hey, maybe we vote in people who are actually serious about this shit. And if they don't do what the fuck we are trying to get done healthcare wise, they get their ass primaried out. Yeah. But you don't get that to happen unless we all talk to each other. I think and this is the point to so many things that are going wrong right now, right? It's like, say Democrats win in 4 years. It's going to be the same shit with the right bitching and like everything the left is doing sucks. It's like, how about talk to each other, you know, as actual citizens, not looking at our politicians like they're gods. They're not. Elon's not God. I like him even though everyone hates him. I know he's flawed and he does some things people don't like, just like Trump, you know. But it's like, I'm like, no, they're not gods. It's still on us, right? So rank ordering priorities, right? I like the idea of going after taxes in the fashion that Elon's looking at, right? And where is all the fucking money going? Because maybe, you know, if we can't lower income tax, which, by the way, 1913, that was income tax didn't actually get injected until 1913. That's fucking nuts. This country was fought for over taxes to begin with, and now we're getting taxed on the money that we earn. That's insane, right?
You're definitely right. Like, going back to what you said about like earlier before about no one's really, like, it's such a complicated subject that no one really has the perfect answer. There are pros and cons to different situations, right? So, for example, if we take the idea that Trump is in office right now, he wants to cut funding for public programs, for like government assisted programs. On one hand, you're taking funds away from these people who, whatever, you know, health insurance, etc., Social Security. On the other hand, if in turn the country makes more money, right? Okay, so let me just use myself as an example. I have a fuck ton of student loan debt. I'm not going to hide that. I have a lot of student loan debt. I don't regret going to college per se, because I did learn a lot of musical skills in college, but if I could do it again, I wouldn't have taken out loans. I would have just like graduated slowly and paid out of pocket, like taken like one, like literally just like went forever. Yeah. With more government funding, not completely true, by the way, because I have a split of some government backed loans and some private loans. The private loans are fucked no matter what. It doesn't matter who's president. The private loans are fucked. I'm going to have to pay them ridiculous amounts of money till they're gone. The government loans, however, under the liberal rule, I get more assistance there. However, the balance is, if we're not making enough money as a whole, that's not because okay, me not paying my student loans once a month doesn't make the student loans disappear. Like, the interest is accumulating. So it's like a short-term fix, but what's the long-term fix? Because it's like, okay, I'm losing this funding. However, if the country makes more money, I can then in turn make more money and pay the fucking loans myself. So what I'm trying, and I don't know which is right. I'm not saying like that's the correct move and that's the correct direction, but I'm just saying there's a give and take for either situation. It's like people get help, but is that a temporary fix? Like to give funding to people for their student loans, etc. Is that a temporary fix, or is that a long-term solution? As opposed to the other way. And again, people going nuts, like, that are going to hate on me for saying this. I don't even know if I'm right. I could be totally wrong. It's just a theory I'm throwing around in my head. maybe short term, I got to pay my monthly loans, and holy shit, I'm losing my government assistance for my government-backed student loans. But in the long run, am I going to make more money in my business if the economy's thriving? And am I going to have the pressure of having to make money force me to figure out how to make money? You know what I mean? So I don't know. And again, I'm going to backtrack what I say there. Not everybody has that capability. There are people with actual like handicaps that they can't just strap on their boots and get their shit together and make money. Like, okay, that is one of my arguments about like figuring your shit out and getting it together. Imagine that there's like, I mean, I'm not saying this to be insulting. I'm saying this to be real. Imagine there's like a mentally retarded person, right? And and they don't have a family. Like their parents are dead. They live by themselves. They have to try to make a living. And for whatever reason, they have like medical debt, etc. Tell that person that they need to like put their bootstraps on. Nobody like they're having trouble getting a job. Like, you know what I mean? So there are some like flaws in the system as well, but I would hope that we would have some government funding available for people like that really can't make it on their own. Right. But I would say there's probably like a give and take and a balance of like, yes, we pull some funds away from some people, but as a result, perhaps the country will just make more money and it will go out in other ways. So I don't know if you have anything to say about any of that.
No, actually, you kind of went in the direction. You kind of went in the direction that I was thinking of, right? Mm-hmm. And I would sum it up like this. And I'll put it in the form of a question. Would you rather the government stops extorting you, which is by definition what they do? If you don't pay us, we put you in a box. Right.
Can you say that again, please?
Would you rather the government continue to extort us, by definition, which is what the government does? If you do not pay us, the IRS puts
you in jail,
and they put you in a box. Right. That's extortion. And then, or would you rather the government funds certain things, but would you rather the government not take your money but fund you, right? That's what oh my god, I'm so dumb.
I think I know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
It's like the government's taking. Here's how I'll say. I'll put it in a statement because I'm trying to do.
Would you rather? I think what you're trying to say is, would you rather the government give you funds but on the side take your money?
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to say? Okay.
Yeah, because it's like it comes down to these things. It's like right now, they're taking your money and they can choose how to fund you or whatever else. Yeah. But it's like these things ebb and flow and go backwards. Oh, we're forgiving loans. Oh, we're doing this with interest. We're doing all these things. And what I reiterate to friends sometimes, and I'm no economist, so I don't know how this would work, but I have some ideas. What if the government didn't take all your fucking money? What would our communities look like? Because once upon a time, communities, when they weren't having all their income taxed, and Uncle Sam didn't come and say, bitch, give me your shit before I put you in a box, right? They took care of their community. So those people who could not work, like, whether it's handicap or whatever else, guess who took care of them? People who had their money not taken by the government. It's their community. It's their family. It's their friends. It's like there's someone in your community is going to figure out a way to take care of people, right? Because just because the government isn't taxing you doesn't mean there's not empathetic people who want to organize something.
I don't know if I trust. Now, this is going to sound cynical, but I don't know if I trust people enough for that.
But let me.
Okay.
And here's where I'll add on to that thought, because it's not to say we cut those social services. In fact, you could maybe have the government not take the money you earn, but you tax through sales, right? So you get to keep your money, but depending on what you buy, commodities, things like, for example, we're drinking coffee. You tax coffee, you tax imports, you tax certain things. The government can make their money off of that. And if you look on the DOGE website, once again, it's public. You can look at it. It's insane how much money the public gives the government, right? It's like they can definitely survive on a small portion of the literally trillions that they steal and that they fuck off. That money that is not income tax but is on sales tax and all sorts of other things could be used for social services. You know what I mean?
Maybe the answer is not one way or the other. It's not a black and white answer. Maybe it's remove some funding but not all of it.
It's like that's
remove unnecessary funding, which isn't that what's happening? Like they're not removing.
No, it's literally what's happening, because it's like I don't. People conflate this argument, and they think people are, just like you're saying, is black or white. They think it's like zero tax and everyone for themselves. It's like no. How about we stop this insanity where it's almost 50% of your money is taken away after income tax, sales tax, and all this other bullshit. Like this is insane, because I truly believe in people. I've met too many people. I've met too many people who are awesome, empathetic, capable, right? There are fucking crazy people out there, but I'm a very optimistic person, and I've met too many amazing people to think that we couldn't handle that shit. You know what I mean? It's like private enterprise beats government almost every time, because the government gets paid no matter what. The people in government get paid regardless of the results. That's fucking nuts. That's fucking nuts, because if I sleep on my job, I get fired. If I underperform in my bitch ass job, I get fired. They give me the boot, and they should, because there are high stakes. Running a business is difficult, and anyone, I encourage you, especially your friends, if you have any who own a business, ask them explicitly, how hard is it, right? It's like, it's free. The government, they get free money, like basically.
I do want to talk about this, because I'm purposely trying to play devil's advocate on a lot of things, because you and I agree on so much that I'm like, I don't want to, like, we just suck each other's dicks, like, intellectually. I'm like, what could I say to, like, try to challenge you? I do hear the word government thrown around a lot. The government this, the government that. Who is the government, though? Because, like we say, the government gets free money. Who are these invisible people? Like, who is the government? Is the government? Yeah.
So there's two different classes of it. There's the unelected bureaucrats. And I had talked about this, the intelligible principle clause. This is in the Constitution. This is Article 1, Section 8. And this is where people who are unelected are basically hired by Congress to regulate. Because as industries and all sorts of things in society get more complicated, Congress can only do so much with lawmaking, right? So there's those people. That's where some money goes, so that they can get paid, so that they have to get paid to do that job, right?
Yeah.
But that ends up with bloat. That's a lot of this issue we're dealing with currently. So these people make regulations which essentially act like laws in our society, right? And then there's actual people who are elected. Your local mayor, or your local politicians, mayors, the city board, all sorts of things like that, right? It's like the government now is like this weird, that's why it's so fucking bloated. It's this weird amorphous thing, and it's difficult. I mean, even me, as I'm struggling to articulate it right now, I would say is very good evidence of how ridiculous it's gotten. So that's what I point to. I point to the people who are elected when I use the word government, and I also point to the people who are unelected, because that's important. Your Congress, those House members in the Senate, they vote on these people who are unelected, who sometimes don't even go into work. You know, Elon recently saying, hey, list 5 things you do. And there's pushback for that. You don't think that, like, this is my question to people. I'm like, regardless of what you believe, what side you're on, I don't give a shit about your cheesy little political club. You don't think the people that you pay your tax money to shouldn't be able to list 5 things they did that were productive regarding their job, right? So that's who I think of when I think of the government. It's both those unelected people and the people who are elected directly by us.
And I think technically, from one of my friends told me this as well, I think technically a government worker is also anybody who works for the state. So technically a teacher, if you're a teacher, a school teacher, you work for the government. If you're a librarian, you work for the government. Maybe public works, like a I don't know if like the garbage man technically works for the government if you like work in public works, but possibly.
Yeah, the state. My brother worked for the state at one point, you know, and that's when I got to hear the stories about just how inefficient and how lazy a lot of them are. Anyone who's gone to the DMV
is a government worker too.
Everything is, and that's just a small little piece of how fucked it is. You know what I mean? It's like, I wish it wasn't true, and I don't want to poo-poo it. I'm sure there's some badass, awesome, hardworking government workers out there, but the trope of the lazy government state worker, it exists for a very real reason, and I'll stand behind that.
I was going to say, I do think it's important to define that, because I hear people all the time, the government this. I'm like, well, who? Like, like where are they? Are they like are they like a clan? Like, do they wear all black? Like, what do they?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
To be clear and more precise too. You know, it's for sure the people who have power to make decisions. So maybe not the janitor who works for the state building, right?
Right.
Obviously, and you know, like, but it's the people who are actually making decisions or not making decisions that affect people. It's like it's those people.
So by definition, when people say that Trump wants to remove the government, that's impossible. You can't remove the government because the people in the Senate are the government.
Yeah.
So what do people mean when they say Trump wants to remove government? Just the extra jobs that are unnecessary? Is that what they mean?
That's it. And as much as I can understand, and going back to what I was just talking about with Article 1, Section 8, it gives Congress the power to really to be able to just issue what is it called? It gives Congress the power to just issue their lawmaking ability to these unelected people, right? To me, that's the one I feel like he is aiming at. When I see Elon doing what he's doing, he's aiming at these people, and you can actually watch some of his when he's talking. He'll touch on that with some of these people, the unelected bureaucrats, that term that you see in deep state and all sorts of things like that. That's a lot of who these people are pointing to, and that's particularly what I'm interested in, and where my scorn is directed. Like the Congress, that's a whole, like people who are actually elected directly. That's a whole nother topic that I think I'd be happy to hash out. I don't care whether I'm right or wrong about what I like and dislike about Congress or whatever else. You know, that's for us to hash out in some other forum. The unelected people who they get to make these decisions and aren't held to account, that's truly an issue. And you get to see it when you go on the DOGE website and see exactly where the money's going. You get to see it when you see TikToks and other things of government workers being upset, you know, whose jobs, you know, it's like, hey, well, what did you do? Why is it a big issue for your manager to ask you, hey, what the fuck did you do today? If it was a private business, they'd kick your ass on the street, and you deserve it. Like, it's nuts.
So one of the arguments I often hear from the left is, hey, you idiots who voted for Trump, now the poor man's going to get fucked because the rich man is not going to be taxed anymore. Is that because they want to now tax the poor man more, or do they want to remove taxes from everybody? Like, do they want to lower taxes for everybody, or do they only want to lower taxes for the wealthy class?
This is going to be the interesting one. And going back to that friend, and this line to answer your question, right. Going back to that friend who called me an Uncle Tom.
I say Uncle Sam, Uncle Tom.
He asked me about, well, what happens if things go wrong? And I told him, I said, I stand behind the decisions I make and the consequences that come with it. I'm a man. That's what we do. I am willing to be wrong, and you have to be. So I don't know. Only time will tell. What happens with Trump and Elon, like, only time will tell. We'll see what happens with taxes, right? Ideally, and you can see what they're doing. It's like, yeah, it's like they're just trying to take for the normal people, average people, that's the messaging that you can clearly see that they're getting at, is we're going to just like get this ridiculous income tax down to a certain point, you know, tips, stop taxing that shit. That's insane, or whatever else, right? But only time will tell. If it were up to me, it would be across the board.
I agree. Because I think if they're going to lower taxes for the rich, if they're going to lower taxes for the poor, I'm fucking for it. Like,
yeah, it's like there's this. One of the issues I notice is like it's just adding to more bickering. It's like, well, you know what? Tax the rich. Fuck those people who have more money than me. And usually it's this resentment of, it's because this person has more than me. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, how rich? No one ever gives me a fucking number. How fucking rich do we have to tax them at? I'm tired of tax it across the board like a tithe. Like you go to fucking church, 10%, the end, right? And let's just see what happens after a couple of decades. But this shit where we put this arbitrary bracket on taxing is insane. You know what I mean? And it's the reason, by the way, that these billionaires and everyone else can actually pay zero taxes. It's because the tax code is intentionally written that way. Because the people who have money literally have scores and scores and scores and scores and scores of lawyers who can look through all of this and see the most efficient way to pay taxes or pay none, while everyone else has to, because the tax code is intentionally ridiculous. Going back to how things should be simple, ideally. Tax should be simple. In other countries, it's much more comprehensive. Like, for example, can we make sense? I need someone to make sense of how the IRS knows what you make, but you need to waste hours filing a report on the amount of money they already know you made. That's retarded. That's fucking retarded. And I feel like no matter who you are, what you believe, whatever your political affiliation, that's horseshit. And we all know it, but we can't stop bickering at each other. I'm like, how about we attack that? Like, let's get on that. Because it's like, if you put that shit across the board, I feel like it's nice because then it puts the power in your hands, whether you fail or whether you succeed. You know what I mean? It's like, if it's 10% across the board, well, you can't bitch at the rich person because he pays as much tax as you, period. Or he goes to jail just like you do.
I think, as a matter of fact, I think a more wealthy person, if they're caught performing tax fraud, unless they know somebody, unless they like know someone in the government, and they have like a grandfathered into some type of person who can hook them up. In general, I would say the average wealthy person, if they perform some type of tax fraud on their taxes, they're probably more likely to go to jail. Because I can tell you, I've never committed tax fraud, but I am behind on my taxes right now. Like, the next tax season is coming, and I'm still not done paying last year's. The government's not coming after me because I don't have a lot of money. Like, they know, there's so many people in my situation like that. They're not going to throw like a poor person in jail. Like, they're just not going to. I mean, I don't know, but I would imagine if you're actually a wealthy person, you're more likely to go to jail for tax fraud versus a poor person. Not that that diminishes, being behind on your taxes as a poor person, but like, going back to what you said, the thing that they're attacking might actually be the thing that could help them if everybody's taxed. Like, if they're going to lower the taxes for the rich, but do it like across the board, everybody gets taxed 10%, that could actually help the poor person.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's just not useful to try and harm. It's like, everyone wants the other side to just hurt. They just want the other side to hurt, whatever it is. So whatever is the antithesis to you. I'm poor, so that rich person needs to be hurt. I'm right, I'm on the right, so that Democrat, I need him to be fucked over. Fuck the left. And it's like, that's not helpful. That's your fucking neighbor. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, like, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, so I want to explore this territory with you. A lot of things that are instinctual for human beings, we can see in our games. Like, let me explain. That doesn't make any sense, but it'll make sense when I explain it. For example, video games exist, right? Like, something like Super Mario exists, right? You're constantly facing these challenges and trying to like level up, get to the next level, and achieve some type of goal. That's like a manifestation of the human spirit in game form. Sports, totally divided. Like I'm we're fucking Eagles fans. Like, that's another like manifestation of the human spirit in game form. I think there's actually a term for this. I'm pretty sure it's called gamification. It's like, I'm fucking that up really bad, but
no, I know what you're getting at though.
Gamification, it's like the spirit. It's almost like a spiritual thing. The spirit of a human being can be found in the manifestation of the games we play. Now,
Yes.
if we relate that to politics, which is very game-like in nature, it's a very us versus them type of thing. Do you think that's a natural manifestation because that's the way humans are, so it comes out naturally that way? Or do you think the people in charge of politics purposely do that? Like, I don't know if I'm. It's kind of like an abstract thought to try to explain. Do you think that people behind the scenes in politics purposely set up political teams this way because they know it resonates with the human spirit, like chicken or the egg type thing, or is it the other way around, that it exists that way naturally because that is the human spirit?
That's interesting. You know what? I think it's both. Actually, you know what?
Maybe it comes out naturally, and then the people say, "Ooh, let's lean into this because this fucking works."
Yeah. You know what I think? I think the order, it just happened in an order of it's natural with humans, and then when society develops, of course, since there's a game-like quality to it, some people play the game better than others. Also, why resentment comes from people who are losing at life. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there's the game-like quality to it. So if I'm the politician, or if I'm the person who's in big business, and I'm very friendly with politicians, well, I notice that people get riled up very easily. Coincidentally, that happens to be what situation we're all in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, it's easy to rile that up. You don't even have to push very hard because people are already upset that someone dares to think differently than them. God forbid someone has their own principles, integrity, and morals. Fuck that person, right? It's like, well, of course, that's so easy to push on. And it's like, and this is why we'll be exactly where we're at as a society, precisely up until the moment we stop bitching at each other. It's why I don't feel that bad about the position we're in. It's why I'm trying to talk to people all the time. I'm like, I can only do what I can do. But the one thing I will do is talk to all the people that I can, right? It's like, this is it's precisely what's happening, and you can see it. I'll give an example too, just to make sense of it. Republicans, Democrats, going way back, there's been all sorts of flip-flops with their integrity and principles over the decades, right? In fact, the Democrats are the ones who ended up, it was Democrats that started the KKK, Jim Crow laws, Democrats. You know what I mean? It's, in fact, the very first 23 black House members were Republican, right? It's like, and that's supposed to be the party that of all racists or whatever else, right? And then it wasn't till like I think, what was the first Democratic black senator? Was like the 80s or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like none of it makes sense. None of it's like this firm of Democrats are this and Republicans believe that. No, it's good people and there's people who are not so good. It's as simple as that. And you'll find it in every group. It doesn't matter if you're black, Jewish, trans, whatever the fuck you are. There's people who are dickheads everywhere. Okay. So labels mean nothing. This is why content of character matters so much. And it's why it's so easy to push with these stupid labels. It's like, oh, Democrats are these or Republicans, you know. It's why when I talk about voting, I'm not like, yeah, I'm a Trump supporter. I prefer to say I voted Republican this year.
Right.
My name is Shannen Norris. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I've voted for both of those things in my life. I'm a human first, you know. And that's, to answer your question, it's a fucking long-winded way of saying it, but it's being pushed on purpose. You know what I mean? It's like, if you want to take a look into it, you can see how corrupt your party is any day by just jumping onto the internet. So it's like, why are we fighting with each other when we know there's shitbags on both sides? I know some personally, and I know some when I look on the internet. What more proof do I need? How about we just get our shit together and talk?
I'm having so many mixed feelings about it, because it's like, on one hand, I agree with you. Like, I know that we need to come together in unity and peace. But on the other hand, I've been like messing around with the idea lately. And a lot of this I've learned from Jordan Peterson when he quotes, oh God, I have his book on my shelf. Not Jordan Peterson, but his biggest influence. I call it Carl Jung.
Oh, yeah.
He quotes Carl Jung a lot. And he talks about how you shouldn't deny the dark parts, like the shadow parts of yourself. Do you remember that? So there's this one part of me that's like, we need to come together in unity and peace. But then there's this other part of me lately that's like, I want to own the dark parts of me in a way that is useful, not in a demonic type of way, but in a way that's like, no, I'm not ashamed of the dirty things. Like, I'm not ashamed if I, like an animal, point at a guy and be like, he's fucking hot. And like, some people will be like, that's dehumanizing. I'm not going to trying to fuck. Like, listen, like, I got like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be ashamed. Like, I'm not out here like raping people. Like I there's parts of me that is dirty and human that, as long as I utilize these dark parts of me in a way, I'm honoring my, like Carl Jung, I'm honoring my shadow self. So there's this one part of me that says like, we need to come together in unity. But then there's this other part of me that says, but maybe it's just the natural order of human beings that we kind of have to fight. Like, we kind of have to fight and butt heads. Like, okay, bringing it back to the sports thing. Am I gonna like, okay, if I'm starting to get into the Eagles because I live in Philly now and I just love the team spirit. Am I going to say, you know what? I'm not an Eagles fan. I want unity and all. I'm just Andrea Pranzatelli. But now I'm contradicting myself, because I could also say, but sports are a way to exercise the dark part of us in a way that's healthy. Yeah. And maybe politics isn't the right place to exercise that. So I'm torn here. Like, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, we should be unified. But on the other hand, I'm like, but maybe that's just the way we do shit. Like, I think my uncle actually pointed this out to me. I asked him once, I'm like, why do we have this like polar opposite? And he's like, that's how progress is made. You butt heads until it's like it's like an explosion, like an orgasm. It's like boom, 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 and that's how things are birthed.
I was talking to my brother about this. It's like, on that note, I'm going to piggyback off of it. We need each other. Like, Democrats need Republicans. So in order to get to the cum, we need honestly, okay, this is like, you know,
it's like a cosmic explosion. Yeah.
It's like the idea of women, right? For me personally, women sometimes get on my goddamn fucking nerves. Okay. Sorry. And I want to be held on record saying that shit. They get on my fucking nerves. Men sometimes. Get on my, but you know what? Nerves. It's like, they're the reason I aim for greatness every day. Women are the reason my mother raised me, my sisters raised me. You know, they're fucking beautiful humans. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I actually know I need women in my life. It's like, I love them more than they get on my goddamn nerves. And I want to be clear about that. And I feel like honest women will feel the same way about men. It's like, men can be stupid. Yeah, I'm a fucking
Men
retard
are fucking
sometimes.
retarded, dude.
But it's just like Republicans and Democrats. It's like, yes, you need each other. Like you need Republicans to be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't chop your kid's fucking dick off at 9 years old, you fucking retards. And then you need Democrats to be like, hey, you know, I love that you're all about winning and, you know, responsibility and all that shit, but maybe we could help out our fucking neighbors sometimes. Yeah. You know, you don't have to be all fire and brimstone all the time, and you don't have to get mad at gay people. Maybe someone wants to fuck a guy in the ass. It's his business. Yeah. It's like, but you fucking need you need each other. But so many people, they're just upset. They're just fucking upset because everyone wants to be right. Like everyone wants to be right. Everyone thinks that they like, no one's like, I'm for poverty. Have you met that person who said, I'm for poverty? It's like, no, everyone just has different ideas of how to run things. But it's like somewhere in between there, the sum of everyone's ideas is a better solution, but you don't find that alone. Yeah. You know, I didn't vote Republican because I think everything they run on is smart. Like these are these are the same people who do dumb shit.
Okay, I think I know what you're saying. So it's like, I was torn in my thoughts, but if I can come to a better conclusion there, yes, we need the game, but we can't play the game if we're separated.
Yeah, it's like here's a game like think of I want to use like a really good like a really hard example of sport, fighting. You know, it's like when two fighters are in a ring, the object is to get the best of each other out of it. That's why there's so much fucking blood and respect afterward. You see two men go into a ring, and after the fight, they're fucking broken, their bodies. And you'll often hear them say, it's like, you're not mad after the fucking fight. You've clashed it out and hashed it out for fucking 25 minutes. 5 rounds is a long time dancing with a partner, throwing fists.
Dude,
but
yes.
It's like, but you need someone to bring out the best in you. So when you go into a debate with someone who disagrees with you, you should be going like, yes, you can be like, I think your ideas are dumb, but you better like show up to actually solve something. When I go into debates with people, I'm not fucking looking to be right. Because I'm too, like, I know I'm dumb in so many areas. I'm actually looking to just see, what can I learn? You know what I mean? And how can I improve my own ideas? Because it's like, I can't do that alone. You know, I'm having this conversation with you as the human I am through the accumulation of interactions with people who disagree with me.
Right. I was going to say, like, going back to what you said about the fighting thing, I did try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu I lasted about 1 week and then I quit. Because for multiple reasons. For one, I was the only female in there. One.
Didn't you ask me if it was a cult?
I thought it was a cult, yeah. Because like in the beginning of each class, they did this like little ritual where they like ran in circles and high-fived the master. It was weird. There was a lot of weird stuff about it, but the biggest reasons I left was 3 reasons. One, I was the only female, so I felt really fucking awkward. Like I was like, are my tits in his face? Like there was all kinds of stuff like that.
That does get weird, yeah.
2, a lot of smells, and I'm not a fan of nasty smells. And 3, every week I went, like someone had like a broken finger, and the what do they call the master? Like the instructor, or whatever he's called. He was like, yeah, there's a lot of injuries in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm like, that's why I thought it was a cult. I'm like, why do people keep doing this if they keep hurting themselves? But the point, and by the way, I don't have a car, so like if I break a limb, like I literally can't walk. like I can't get anywhere. So like I'm not fucking up. And I play piano. I'm a piano teacher and musician, so I can't fuck up my wrists. I can't fuck up my feet. I'm like, this is not for me. But what I will say is that in the 1 week that I was there, I noticed a camaraderie and a love amongst the people fighting each other that I've never witnessed before. Like there was nothing but love in that room. Like the people, like, and I asked people about it. I'm like, why is there so much love? And what they said was like, there's an intimacy that goes along with fighting that there's no other way to, like when you truly combat each other with like love and respect, it brings you so close together. Like it's such an intimate thing. And I was like, I can't do this then because there's like mad guys in here. I'm not trying to get intimate with all these guys in here. But like, back to your point, like you can relate that back to politics. And relating that back to, I have, like I said earlier, I have a friend who at first he sent me a text message that was kind of like nasty in response to one of my videos. But then we actually hashed it out and talked it out. Even though we still have different ideas, I felt like it bonded us more. Like we had more love and respect for each other after we had that conversation. So I do think there is something to like being able to combat each other in a respectful manner, you know?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But not everybody does it respectfully, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's also fighters that'll fucking bite an ear off.
Sure.
Like, you know,
There's those.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, generally, the best collaboration happens when both people meet each other at the bleeding edge of their beliefs. Like,
right.
when you see that, and you can see it, like, and you know it. Like, I'm sure anyone who's truly had the honest conversation, even though it's hard, they can probably, I think anyone listening to this can point to one conversation where both people stopped fucking lying for a second and are like, this is actually what I feel, regardless of my parents, regardless of my girlfriend or my boyfriend, regardless of what my friends think. This is what I actually believe, while they're talking and contending with someone else who thinks differently, maybe doesn't disagree with them, and you just both end up being honest, laying it out on the table.
Right.
It's like, and then what you created out of that is the truth. And it's like, you can do so much with that. But this thing where we hide in our pockets who we are, you know, or we don't want to say what we actually believe, or you just want to be right, so you dig down and make all these stupid arguments, or you just try to avoid the arguments. It's like, it's not helpful. It's like, you need each other. It's like, this is what collaboration is about.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So we got into a really juicy conversation there, but unfortunately, Shannen has a band rehearsal. Is that where you have to go?
Oh, yeah.
Shannen has a band rehearsal that he has to start getting ready for, but he is a returning guest on this channel, so I'm going to be bringing him back, and we're going to explore some more ideas. I'm kind of bummed about that because I felt like we were like getting the juices flowing and getting into some pretty good ideas. That's when I heard you had to leave it too. I'm like, damn it. Like, I know when you and I talk, we like get into some stuff, but he'll be back. He's like, I was telling him, like, he's like the Duncan Trussell to my Joe Rogan. He's like, well, maybe not, because you're more political, actually, because Duncan Trussell's more like spiritual, I guess.
I mean, we haven't even
opened the back.
Yeah.
So, okay.
We talk about so much shit. Like, I won't be surprised when we're talking about UFOs and fucking holy books.
Yeah. So he'll be back. Don't worry, guys. But before we leave, this is Pranzata Podcast, episode number 142. This has been Shannen, also known as Death by Snuu, his musical name. I'll include a link to his bio below because I know he wants to record some music. Link to his Instagram, I meant because I know he wants to record some music. So as that progresses, you can kind of keep an eye on his musical career. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please don't forget to hit subscribe. Again, helps me big time on growing this podcast. Also, feel free to comment on anything we talked about in the episode. I want the comment section to be an open discussion forum. I do respond. I do watch and I do respond. I also have an email. You can send me an email if you have any topics you want me to bring up, questions you have for me, potential guests, etc. And that's it. Pranzata Podcast, episode 142. Have a good day, guys. Bye.